There is a moment in Breaking Bad when almost everything Gus Fring is built is about to collapse. Enemies are closing in, his empire is threatened, and the people around him are making critical mistakes. Yet Gus does something that seems almost unnatural. He stays completely calm. Not because he is fearless, and not because he doesn't understand the danger. Quite the opposite. Gus understands exactly how much he has to lose, and that is precisely what makes his calmness so disturbing. Most people become deeply emotional when a situation becomes dangerous. Their voice changes, their breathing accelerates, and they make hasty, irrational decisions just to make the immediate anxiety disappear. They rush, they over-explain, and they react violently to their environment. But Gus Fring operates differently. When the room becomes chaotic, he becomes quieter. When everyone else reacts, he observes. When someone tries to intimidate him, he doesn't immediately fight back. He waits, he watches, and he calculates. And then, when he finally moves, it often feels as though the decision was made long before everyone else realized there was a problem. That is the strange lesson hidden inside Gus Fring. If you want to understand panic, don't study someone who never feels fear. Study someone who knows exactly what fear can do and refuses to let it make his decisions. Because the real opposite of panic isn't courage, it is control. Gus Fring is an extreme example of what happens when a person builds their entire identity around absolute control. When something goes wrong, your brain narrows your attention. You stop thinking about tomorrow and you trap yourself entirely inside the immediate moment. You don't think about long-term consequences, you think about instant escape. This is what panic does. It compresses your time horizon. That is why people under pressure make decisions that seem irrational afterward. They aren't necessarily stupid, they're simply trapped inside the present. Gus understands this. He knows the first thing panic steals from you isn't intelligence, it's perspective. That is why he refuses to let the current moment become his entire universe. When something goes wrong, Gus doesn't ask, "What do I do right now?" He asks, "What does this mean?" Those two questions sound similar, but they aren't. The first is reactive, the second is strategic. Urgency is information, not instruction. Just because your body screams at you to do something doesn't mean you should. Sometimes the smartest move is to wait long enough for your brain to become useful again. This is where people misunderstand calm individuals. We imagine that someone composed under pressure must not be afraid, but that's not true. Sometimes the calmest person is the one who understands fear the best. Gus knows danger exists. He knows people can betray him, plans can fail, and one mistake can destroy years of work. He doesn't deny this. Denial isn't calmness. If you're standing in a burning building telling yourself you aren't scared, you haven't mastered fear, you're just refusing to acknowledge reality. Gus accepts the reality completely, then decides what to do with it. Fear says, something terrible could happen. Control says, okay, what can I actually influence? That is a useful psychological shift. Don't ask yourself to feel calm, ask yourself to become useful. You don't have to eliminate the adrenaline. You just have to identify the next thing within your control, your breathing, your words, your next decision. Panic lives in uncertainty, but control begins with something concrete. At Los Pollos Hermanos, Gus maintains the appearance of a meticulous businessman while running a drug empire beneath. Maintaining two conflicting realities requires intense self-control. But notice how Gus doesn't walk around looking like he carries the weight of the universe. He doesn't constantly announce how important he is, and he doesn't tell everyone how dangerous he can be. Real control rarely needs to advertise itself. People who feel insecure try to prove they're in control. They raise their voices, dominate conversations, and explain themselves too much. Gus does the opposite. His power comes from how little he needs to say. Panic is often connected to the desperate need to control how other people perceive you. But the more desperate you become to control how others see you, the less control you have over yourself. Gus doesn't need immediate validation, and because he doesn't need it, he can wait. That patience becomes absolute power. There is another reason Gus feels unnaturally calm. His physical behavior is strictly controlled. His movements are deliberate, and his voice rarely matches the emotional intensity of the situation. Your mind doesn't exist separately from your body. When you're panicking, your body communicates danger to your brain. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, and your muscles tighten. Your brain interprets these signals as evidence that something is wrong, which creates more anxiety, creating more tension. It is a feedback loop. You can interrupt that loop by controlling the physical part first. Slow your breathing, relax your shoulders, stop moving unnecessarily, and take a pause before answering. When you panic visibly, you give away valuable information. You show people what frightens you and what you are trying to protect. But when you become difficult to read, you become impossible to manipulate. Throughout Breaking Bad, almost everyone around Gus makes decisions based on emotional pressure. Walter White is brilliant but reacts to his ego. Jesse is emotional and impulsive. Others are driven by greed, fear, or desperation. Gus is also driven by intense emotion, specifically a desire for revenge, but he hides the emotional origin of his decisions behind a layer of discipline. He can wait, he can plan, and he can postpone gratification. Emotion isn't the problem, uncontrolled emotion is. You can be angry and still think clearly. You can be terrified and still make an intelligent decision. The danger comes when the emotion decides the timing. Panic takes a valid feeling and convinces you that you need to act immediately. But feelings don't have deadlines. Anger doesn't mean you need to respond tonight. Fear doesn't mean you need to escape immediately. Sometimes the most powerful sentence you can tell yourself is simply, "not yet." Gus is fast when necessary, but he moves deliberately because he chooses when speed is required. A calm person isn't slow, a calm person is selective. When the situation demands action, Gus can act in a second, but he doesn't allow every situation to create that demand. Modern life manufactures artificial urgency through notifications, deadlines, and social expectations. Everyone wants an immediate reaction, but fast doesn't mean intelligent. Sometimes you're not overwhelmed because you have too much to do, you're overwhelmed because you're treating every task as equally urgent. Gus categorizes everything into what matters, what can wait, and what is merely background noise. Think about the moments when you panic the most. Usually it happens when you don't know what happens next. Uncertainty is the source of terror. What if they say no? What if I fail? The human mind hates empty space, so it fills it with catastrophic possibilities. Gus shifts his mind from asking what if to asking, if this happens, then what? What if creates fear, but if this happens, then what creates an actionable strategy. You don't need to predict the entire future, you just need to know what you'll do if the next obstacle appears. That is why preparation creates calm. It gives your brain somewhere concrete to go when things go wrong. Yet, Gus isn't a hero, and his story contains a warning. His greatest strength becomes his downfall. Control becomes obsession, discipline becomes rigidity, and patience becomes fixation. Revenge becomes the thing that controls the man who believes he controls everything. He spends decades mastering himself, only to remain a prisoner of one unexamined emotion. There is a difference between controlling your emotions and suppressing them. Suppression says, "I shouldn't feel this," and buries it. Control says, "I feel this, now what do I do with it?" Gus is exceptionally good at suppression. He doesn't process his internal pain, he weaponizes it. He doesn't resolve his hatred, he organizes his life around it. Externally, it looks like superhuman discipline, but internally, it is just another form of captivity. Don't copy Gus's emotional suppression. Copy his ability to create a gap between feeling and action. The ultimate goal isn't to become an emotionless robot. The goal is to become someone who can experience panic without immediately obeying it. When chaos enters the room, most people ask, "How do I make this feeling stop?" Gus asks, "What happens next?" Once you stop trying to escape the feeling, you can start solving the problem. And when you can solve the problem while everyone else is reacting, you gain something more valuable than fearlessness. You gain time. So the next time everything goes wrong, stop, breathe, look at what is actually happening, separate facts from fear, decide what you can control, and ask yourself, what is my next move? Panic wants the entire future solved immediately, but true calmness only needs one intelligent step to take back control.